All right, man, welcome back. We are in week 1 and we are talking about self-worth. Now, I firmly believe that this is one of the most important topics that we can talk about. I do say that about a lot of topics, though. But this is definitely a root issue that needs to be resolved inside of our lives. Now, I firmly believe that everything flows from our identity. That is who we believe ourselves to be. And also our self-worth, and that is how we estimate and how we value ourselves. Now, many of the problems that we face in this world that have to do with habits and mindsets and all of these different things can be shifted and can be changed if we just deal with our identity and our self-worth. Because we will rise to the level of what we believe ourselves to be, and we will, if we esteem ourselves highly and we have a high estimation of ourselves in a godly way, then we are going to have self-worth and dignity, okay? And we rise to that level. So these two things are super, super important. Job in 40 verse 10 says this: "Adorn yourself with eminence and dignity, and clothe yourself with honor and majesty." Okay? And this is God speaking to Job and saying this to him. And he said to adorn yourself with eminence. Now, eminence is a position of prominence. It is a position of a superiority or a superior position. And God was saying that we need to adorn ourselves with this higher elevated position. And what I take from that is, part of our self-worth is understanding our royal position. And that is, if you've listened to me any length of time, you go into, I've gone into plenty of times being established in your royal identity and understanding fully who you are and what you have and all of these different things. Well, the key to self-worth, the key to estimating yourself, is understanding your royal position. It's understanding into which family you belong. Now, here's the reality: if in the natural you came from a royal family, you would be taught in the ways of royalty, okay, and you would know and understand who your father was, and who your lineage or line came from. Okay, and you have all this education about your royalty, this, that, and the other thing. Well, this is what I firmly believe, that our education inside of the scriptures of being sons of the king and being part of the royal family and being accepted and all of these different things is to give us an education about our position, and that is our eminence and our dignity. Okay. Dignity, as definition, is the quality, a state of being worthy, honored, or esteemed. Okay? The quality, a state of being worthy. Now, if you were to ask me, Tim, what's one of the main problems that men face? And I would say it comes down to worthiness and not feeling enough. This breeds all kinds of inadequacies and fears and all of these different things. So we can trace most of the negativity in our life due to our identity and due to how we view ourselves or our self-worth. We fix these two things and we begin to just really rock it inside of our lives. So he lists two more things, and that is to clothe yourself with honor. Honor is nobility. This once again is talking about your status and your position inside of the kingdom. Now, when we were outside of the kingdom, we were worms, and we had all of these problems and sin and shame and all of these different things. But inside of the kingdom, we are accepted, we are forgiven, we are free. Okay, and we have been given a place of power and authority, and we have these privileges, and we need to rise up to that nobility, okay, and to that honor of what we have been given. And lastly, he said majesty, and that's once again is royal power. These awesome 4 words that God says: adorn yourselves with these, clothe yourself with these, okay? And they're all just powerful words about building your dignity and your self-worth and really walking inside of your royal privileges and your authority. Psalms 139:14 says this: I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and my soul knows this very well. And so here in the scripture we have the psalm writer saying, I will praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Now this word fearfully has nothing to do with fear. It has to do with awe. And it comes from the word awesome, okay? To inspire awe. And the second word, wonderfully made, just simply means wonderful. And that is, I am good, I am excellent, and I am fantastic, okay? Now, if you have trouble saying these things, you have a root issue of self-worth that needs to be dealt with. If you cringe when you say that you are awesome, if you cringe when you say that you are wonderfully made, or that you are good, or that you are excellent, or that you are fantastic, if you begin to squirm, or if you begin to come up in your mind all the ways that you are not excellent, all the ways that you are not good, fantastic, and awesome, and all of these different things, I can guarantee you, you have accepted so many lies about who you are and what you have and the dignity and self-worth, okay? So believing that you are worthy is key to valuing yourself. Now, there is a religiosity that says that you are not worthy, that you are the scum of the earth, and all of this different stuff, and you are bad. And what we need to understand is that a recreation and a change has taken place, and our heart has experienced a transformation. Now, all of a sudden, we begin to desire to do good, and we have this connection, and we have this relationship with God. And what I'm trying to, for you to understand, is that things have changed. Okay, and then that is that our mindset needs to shift also and understand that we are worthy, we are awesome, we are good, and we are fantastic. Okay, so believing that you are worthy is key to valuing yourself. Understanding your worth will cause your frame to rise, and your frame is your family, faith, fitness, and your finances. Okay. When you begin to value your life, when you begin to understand your worth, you can now begin to show up in these 4 areas of your life. Because what's going to happen, think for a moment, if you don't think that you're awesome, if you don't think that you're good and excellent and fantastic, right? You are going to create all of these problems inside of your frame. Because if you are not awesome, then you are not worthy of awesome things, okay? And when good things happen, you will shift it and make sure that you do not get it, okay? And if you are not wonderful, if you're not good, when you experience good things, you feel shameful about those things, and then you make sure that you bring a stop to them and you bring it into them very quick, okay? So we have to understand this, is that our mindset needs to shift. I got to believe that I am awesome, not because some elated pride or ego. I need to throw that out there real quick, okay? Because we have this idea of saying, you know, we are awesome, that I'm somehow elated with pride, and I'm fluffing my ego and all of these different things. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about acknowledging the creation. The psalmist said, I will praise you because I'm fearfully, wonderfully made. Okay? And this praise, or this giving thanks, or this gratitude towards God is for what He has created. Think about this for a moment. That your daughter or your son comes to you with their creation, their school project, okay? And you look at it and you say, it's a piece of crap, right? It's junk. And you tell them that it's a piece of crap and it's junk, right? And the reality is that it is a reflection of the Creator, right? And of course, the child's going to take it very personally that you just like said it was a piece of junk, not understanding that, you know, they put all their talent, skills, and resources to the best of their ability inside of this thing. And what I'm saying here is that the Creator has created something beautiful and something awesome, okay? And He has defined it. And we are fearfully and we're wonderfully made. When we go to that and look at the creation, me, you, and say that we're worthless and we're a piece of junk, we're actually reflecting that upon the Creator and saying that He creates junk and that He's worthless and He's a piece of junk, okay? And so it's important to understand that when we demean ourselves and when we put ourselves down, we're actually creating that energy between us and our Creator. And so it's really important to understand that. So believing you are worthy is the key to value, okay? And really understanding your value will cause you to know and understand that you are worth too much for anything to go down the tubes. That is inside of your family, faith, fitness, and your finances, that you are too good for the disintegration of your family, okay? The disintegration of your relationships. And being caught up in addiction and allowing the whole formation, the whole growth of addiction to take place to its ultimate end of suffering and pain. And you look at that and you say, you know what? I'm worth too much for that. We look at the suffering involved inside of addiction and all the mental health issues and the path that addiction is going to lead us into a negative mindset with negativity. And we say, you know what? I am worth too much for that. Okay? And it's when we get the mindset of self-worth is that we're able to push these things away. Because we think greater. Now, when I was first trying to quit smoking, one of my key lies was, I deserve this, right? And so I go to get some cigarettes and I'm like, oh, I deserve this, you know. And God just impressed upon me and said, no, you deserve so much better than that, right? And it's really getting a clue about your worth and your value. Because once you begin to do that, you see these other things that begin to come up. You say, you know what? I'm worth too much for that. A detrimental relationship comes up, right? That's involved, that has its roots in lust. And it's just this passion, carnal desire. And following through with those desires is going to destroy you. Okay? It's going to destroy your mindset. It's going to destroy your conscience. It's going to get you in shame. It's going to destroy your family. It's going to do all of your things. When you begin to value who you are and understand your worth, you say, you know what? I am too much for that. I'm worth too much for that. Okay? And when anything comes your way, when you're established in self-worth, this automatic response is going to say, I'm worth too much for that. You see, the reality is inside of relationships that we teach people how to treat us. And that is by what we cause or what we allow. Okay? And a lot of the things that are taking place inside of our relationships are by what we have caused and or allowed to take place. And that is that we didn't establish boundaries. And if we did establish boundaries, we didn't maintain them. We have this concept and idea that we could just put a boundary up and that people are just supposed to respect that and everything's supposed to flow smoothly from there, and people cross the boundaries and there's no response from us, right? And then we start going into the victim mode. It's like, they don't respect my boundaries, blah, blah, blah. The reality is that when someone crosses your boundaries, then you need to reestablish the boundaries. Set the line again. Set the expectations again. We cross the boundaries. Set the expectations again. Set the expectations again. Okay? This is how growth and leadership works. We don't, just because someone crosses our boundaries doesn't mean we drop our expectations. Okay? So it's important to understand that we teach people how to treat us. And we do by what we cause or allow. And we cause or allow it to happen based upon our dignity and our self-worth. If we get into situations and relationships and we allow people to treat us a certain way, then it is actually a signification that there's something wrong with our royal identity and our self-worth. Because if we were standing in our authority and we're really believing who we are and what we have and all of these things, when people begin to treat us like that, we begin to rise in our authority and say, you know what? I have expectations and I have standards, okay? And you have crossed the line, okay? What are you going to do to change this? Okay, and then hold them accountable to that change. And so understanding this is that our self-worth is attached to our relationships. And it's crazy how deep this goes, how we train and teach people to treat us. I watched this video recently. It was about self-worth. I think it was on a TED Talk. And the presenter takes this $20 bill and he asks the audience who would like this $20 bill. And of course, everybody's like, yeah, you know, I'll take the $20 bill. There's not a person inside of the auditorium that didn't say, yeah, we want this $20 bill, right? And so then he begins to crumble it up, right? And he crumbles up the $20 bill. And he says, who wants this $20 bill now? And still, everybody wanted the $20 bill, okay? And then he took a lighter and he burned the edges. He burned the edges of the $20 bill. And he says, who wants this $20 bill? And nothing changed, right? Because it still held its value. Now, this is what I want to tell you about your self-worth. Is that we don't thoroughly understand our potential worth, or some people call our inherent worth. And that is the worth that we have just for being created in His image. Just for being on this earth and just for having life. There is so much inherent and potential worth wrapped up inside of that. That we're just like this $20 bill. Like we're not crisp, right? We're not clean. We're not straight from the Federal Reserve, right? That we are crumpled up a bit. We are tattered. We got burnt edges, you know, folding creases and all of these different things. And we may have been used for unholy purposes, just like money is, right? They say that there's traces of cocaine on practically every $20 bill, right? And so we may have been tattered and torn, and we may have been used in the past for some unholy purposes, right? But the value remains. And that's what I want to stress to you today, is that you're looking at your past and your mistakes, and you may have messed up last week or last month or all of these different things, and you're beating yourself up and you're going down this pit of self-condemnation, right? And getting your hammer, beating yourself up. Not understanding that the value remains, okay? Understanding your dignity and your worth is the key to coming out of any form of shame or dysfunction, okay? And it's the way to come out of it in a more holistic and a more abundant, easy fashion. That's powerful. So, understanding your potential worth. Now, value is really based upon estimation. That is, someone looks at objects and they estimate the value, okay? And that's what determines. So God looked at you, right? And He's given you the saying you should be clothed in dignity and honor. You should rise in your royal identity. And He's saying all of these positive things about you and setting your estimation and your value. And saying that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, okay? And so he's spoken all of these identity statements, everything, who we are and what we have and all of those things. And he is the one who has established our estimation and our value. Okay? And understanding the potential and the possibilities is really key to any sort of growth and development. Esteeming something highly is what increases its perceived value. Okay? And understanding what he has spoken about us and believing it, taking it to heart, walking it out inside of your life is key to any sort of growth inside of discipleship. And it's a powerful, powerful reality. Scientists believe that you were competing with approximately 500 million others at the time of conception. I want you to think about that for a moment. That as you were being about to be conceived, you were competing against 500 million others. I don't know if this is the exact number. I don't know if it's larger. But the reality is that you are in yourself. Your very conception is a miracle, right? That you are competing with that many, and yet here you are. Your very existence proves your worth. Your very existence proves that you were the cream of the crop. Your very existence proves that you were the elite on the day of conception. You were the winner. Okay? Now, taking that into letting it sink in and letting it really build our self-worth and our value, and understanding that we came into this world a winner. Okay? And think about this for a moment. If you were competing in a sporting event, okay, against 500 million, and you beat them all, okay? Think about that for a moment. Whatever your sport is, like if I was playing tennis, that I beat 500 million people at tennis, and I am the champion, and I won, okay? Think about that in the terms of your favorite sport. Maybe it's bowling, right? You bowled against 500 million people, and you won, okay? You played football against 500 million people, and you won 500 million people, okay? And so getting that is really, even from conception, we understand that we are winner, winner, chicken dinner, okay? And that we have rose to the top. We are the cream of the crop. And here we are on this earth, and our existence is established and in what we came into the world as, beating 500 million others. Man, that is an awesome reality. So I seen this article recently. It was about a bar of iron. Okay, so a bar of iron, pretty big size bar of iron, is worth about $5. Okay, and so looking at that, it has worth and it has value. Okay, but it has a lot of potential value. And that is that a lot of things that can be created from this bar of iron. So even though the bar of iron is worth $5, its potential value could be so much more depending on what's created from it. Now, I want you to take that as an analogy of your life, okay? So our life has inherent value, and we have value just from being created in His image. And there is a lot of potential, there is a lot of value there, okay? But there's also something called potential value. And that is that it is correlated to what you created and what you make from it. Now, each one of us has been given value, inherent value, okay? And we have this dignity and we have this worth. Now, it's different from someone who sees that, believes that, begins to operate in faith, begins to walk it out, and actually begins to create something awesome. So here's where potential value comes in. And so really getting an estimation of your potential value is an extreme thing for motivation. Because you begin to think, what can I do with my life? What can I actually accomplish? What kind of ministry can I build? What kind of business can I build? What kind of connections can I make? What kind of legacy that I can leave? And all of these different things are all potential worth and value. Now, the only difference between inherent and potential is the actual believing and walking it out. Okay? And what I don't want to happen for you or for me or for anyone I'm connected with is to not really realize their potential. And that is, they had so much extreme potential value, right? But they really didn't do anything with it. That's much like, think about this, that a high school, college quarterback who has an amazing arm, like never, you have never seen before, right? And amazing capabilities. And what you would call that is potential, right? Because he's not in college yet, has not become part of a college football team, has not been drafted to the NFL, none of these things. It's all just potential, right? Now, whether that quarterback sees the potential and begins to develop the habits and the disciplines necessary to achieve his dreams is totally up to him. Now, the potential value is there. Okay? And he must see that potential, see himself drafted into the NFL, and begin to do what is required to get there. Now, I've interviewed somebody who was on an NFL team for a couple of years, and he began to explain to me the discipline necessary to be elite. Okay? And so once you begin to grasp your potential reality, the next thing after that is just creating the habits and the disciplines that are going to get you to where you want to go. And this brings potential into reality. Okay? So back to this bar of iron. So this bar of iron is worth $5, okay? And it has a lot of potential value. In fact, if you take this bar of iron and you make it into horseshoes, right? You've just doubled and increased the value. And so this inherent worth, if utilized and carried out, turning into horseshoes doubles the value and creates something awesome out of this iron. Okay? But if you take that same bar, $5 bar of iron, and you turn them all into sewing needles, okay? You can make the value from that is $3,500. So now from this $5 bar of iron, you can increase it to $3,500, okay? But let's not stop there. If you take this bar of iron and you make springs for watches, you know, I love those old school pocket watches from Swiss and stuff. They're just really, really neat. Okay, so you take this iron and you make springs for what? Now you have $300,000 from the same $5 bar of iron. And what I want to really propose to you is that life is what we create it and what we make it. Okay, we take this lump of clay, this lump of iron, and it has an inherent value. But we got to ask ourselves that what are we going to create out of it? Are we going to create something amazing? Are we going to begin to yield to the Spirit of God that is speaking inside of our lives? And are we going to begin to create something awesome? Now, this process is totally up to us. Now, the biblical scripture that matches this is that there's some vessels inside of a house, some to honor and some to dishonor, and there's wood, and there's all these different vessels inside of a house. And the bottom conclusion is that you cleanse yourself from the impurities and the lust and the habits and all these different things that bring you down. You'll be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use. And what that means is that this bar of iron begins to be utilized for noble purposes. And something awesome begins to be created out of this. Now, the only thing that stops this process from taking place is saying, you know what? I resist and I refuse, God, what you are trying to create me to be. Okay? I'm not down with this process. This is too painful, or this, that, and the other thing. I'm just not willing to do this. And all of a sudden, our potential worth disintegrates. Okay? So inherent worth is established and it's firm and it's a reality. Potential worth must be believed, perceived, and walked out. Okay? Think about your life for a moment and begin to think about how valuable you really are. Think for a moment. And ask yourself this question. This is how I really establish value inside of people. How much would you charge for someone to inject a life-ending virus and you only have 7 days in existence? How much would you charge for someone to do that to you? You know, if you didn't care much about your life and you were suicidal, it probably wouldn't be too much, because there wouldn't be much dignity there. There wouldn't be much self-worth. If you have a little bit of self-worth, you might say, you know what, I don't know, $100 million. $100 million, I could go out with the blaze of glory, and I could take care of, you know, all of my family members. I can, within the 7 days, create a legacy real quick and be known for something, you know. But if we really thought about it and said, you know what, I'm worth too much for that. There isn't a price that you can give me that I would inject myself with a virus that is going to kill me in 7 days. There's no amount of money that you can give me that I would go ahead and do that, right? And this is the way most sane people work. And what you're really, really getting down to the nitty-gritty is how valuable you really are, okay? And put it into monetary terms, you are priceless. I know the government puts price tags on people and how much they're worth and all these different things, and people are commodities, and if they're listed in the service, there's asset, liability, all these different things. They put a monetary value. But the reality is when it comes down to us, when it comes down to potential value and everything that we have with our relationship with God, what we have is priceless. Okay? And it's about time that we begin to recognize how much value and how priceless this experience really is. Because the reality is, no matter what anybody tells you, we only get one go around. Okay? And that is, this is our life. You know, we live, it is appointed man once to die, and after this, the judgment. And what that means is that we get one go around on this, one shot, one opportunity. Are you going to waste it? I'm sorry to sound like Eminem there, but are we going to waste this opportunity? Are we not going to realize our worth and our value and our potential and begin to rise up to it? Man, I'm going to love talking about this, brothers. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Peace.